Hi, this is Brendan Davis from Bedrock Games and the Bedrock blog, and I'm here with Joel and Adam, and we are talking about Kung Pow. This is the 2002 American martial arts comedy film that parodies Hong Kong action cinema, written and directed and starring Steve Odenkirk. It uses footage from the 1976 Hong Kong martial arts film Tiger and Crane Fist, also known as Savage Killers, which I think stars Jimmy Wang Yu, along with new footage shot by Odenkirk to create an original, unrelated plot. Now, this was just ripped from the Wikipedia entry, but I figured, given the nature of this film, where he's basically just taking existing movies and overdubbing them, that's a perfectly fine way to start. So I don't know, Joel. This was your idea, so why don't you start, and then we'll work around and just kind of get our reactions and.
I feel like every year I pitch this film, and we finally actually reviewed it. Um, to give you an idea, I didn't even watch the film in preparation for the podcast because I've literally seen it over 100 times. I love
Okay.
this movie.
Okay.
Um, I first saw it when I was a very young man, and I don't know, I just cackled like a hyena the entire time, and then me and my friend group just quoted it forever, and I still quote it to this day. I don't know if this film in itself is great or if its impact on me is what is great. You know, I kind of liken it to other films that I know I adore, but I can't really recommend them. Like the cartoon Transformers movie from 1986. That's not a good movie, right? By no stretch of the imagination is that good, but I love that movie. You know, I love every moment of it, and I love the kick-ass theme by Lion that plays whenever it's over and the credits roll. They didn't need to go that hard, but it was an 80s band and an 80s movie, so they did. They went super hard. They went like cocaine hard. Um, so, like, yeah, would I recommend this movie? I don't know. I love it. But this is one of those things where, like, critically, I don't really know what to do with it because it's like it's one of those films, and here's what I would say about it is like after you've watched it, and I would recommend watching it with a group of people who've never seen it before. You just try to keep yourself from quoting it. You know, quote that film if you're so great. Um, it's infectious. It gets under your skin, and it feels like something that's like I don't know. A lot of the voices are just Odenkirk doing the voice for a character and saying something unbelievably stupid, and most of the jokes kind of don't land. I would say that like 1 in 4 jokes really land, and the rest are just like what. But what I find is that because most of the jokes don't land, there's a certain accessible charm to this movie that makes it very quotable. It's like almost like Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where it's not so much the movie itself, which is brilliant, which Monty Python is actually brilliant, but it's afterwards where it kind of just lives culturally in your little social circle. That's where its real genius lies. Because you'll find yourself playing, you know, a great kung fu game like Wandering Heroes of Ogre Gate, and all of a sudden someone with one of these voices will show up and be like, "That's a lot of nuts," and
Which, by
everyone
the way, that's
cackles.
one of my biggest pet peeves when I'm running Ogregate is that I get a lot of those. They'll get that or like a Balls of Fury reference or what are some other movies in this subgenre that we're sort of, but you know what I mean, like those kinds of remarks. I have to say I
Mhm.
hadn't seen this since I think when did it come out? 2002 was that? So I was it's funny I was taking Taekwondo when this came out. I remember being like steeped, like so steeped in like like martial arts was like everything I was doing. I was, going to Chinatown all the time. I was only watching martial arts movies, and a lot of them the kinds of films that they're making fun of here. And this was one of the movies that quickly got on my radar, and me and my friends watched it. And at the time, I remember we all loved it, but since then, I kind of have been like, well, I'm not, like it's a movie that I remembered it being incredibly dopey and didn't really have
Totally.
much desire to go and revisit. I have to say though, I was surprised by how much I was laughing
Mhm.
during the viewing of it. It was genuinely funny. It's not trying to be smart funny. Do you know what I mean? It's not even pretending like it's a smart funny movie. So, I feel like I think part of it is the uncanniness of the Steve Odekirk character. He does not look like he fits in at all, right? He's just got
A little bit.
and even the hair feels off. Like they could have done a much better job with the hair, but they didn't. And it so that the goofiness of it, the randomness of okay, we're fighting a cow now. Um, they did a lot of other things that many parody movies did back then. Like there would just be these Matrix references for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
And here, at least, it made some sense because it's a martial arts movie. In Scary Movie, it made even less sense. But I like
The
Scary
Scary
Movie.
Movie ilk was like, I like Scary Movie too, the original one, but like they got to the point where they just became a reference to the movie. Like 2 or 3 movies down the line, it was like there's no jokes here. These are just references, and that
Yeah.
was all they had. Like it was extremely lazy.
What what made those movies work though was the lady who was in, I forget her name, but was it Anna Faris, the woman who plays the lead?
Yeah, Anna Faris was really funny.
She was good.
I was thinking about her the other day, actually. I was like, whatever happened to Anna Faris?
Because
It's
you're right.
ironic that no one references her anymore.
Well,
No.
those later Scary Movies were really poorly written in a lot of cases. I mean, I think 3 was one that I remember kind of liking. I remember liking 1, but mostly the later ones, if I remember, they were just like movie references.
They were doing way too much back then. They had Scary Movie, then they had stuff like Epic Movie and stuff like that, and they were spreading themselves really thin. They just didn't have enough ideas to keep up with their output. So
I remember like some of the movies, they would just have like somebody acting like Amy Winehouse for no reason in the movie. Just things like that. But Anna Faris, she could make it funny even if it was like the most stupid material. But this had a similar type of charm to it, where I feel like the guy's enthusiasm, like this.
Yeah.
I'm watching this and I'm like, how did this get okayed by a studio at all? Like I can't imagine that this guy
I don't know
got
how much it did. I'm pretty sure he funded a lot of this film.
Yeah. And it was the time too. I mean, that was the Scary Movie era. I feel like you would have had an easier, like, I don't think you could get this movie made today for a lot of reasons, but it's yeah, I feel like it was the right moment for this movie. But yeah, I guess I should jump in with my opinion.
Yeah, like this is your first time seeing it, right, Adam?
It's my first time ever seeing it.
Okay, so tell us about your initial impression about this stupid fucking movie.
It took me a little while to warm up to it. It's like I think the first laugh I did, the first moment I laughed was when the baby's rolling down the hill and the woman finds the baby, picks it up,
So
then,
cute.
oh,
Yeah,
God, pulls him down. That was like my first laugh.
Oh man, the commentary on that is hilarious too, because he's talking about what a zen moment that is. Where it's like, who am I to disrupt the rolling of the baby?
Yeah, I mean, and it took a while for me to really warm up to it. Like I said, I think you saying your recommendation, Joel, watch it with a group. I feel like I would have liked this movie a lot more if I had a few friends sitting around the couch and we were all laughing together. It's like it's not the greatest movie to watch on your own, or at least maybe you should take a gummy or something before you watch it. But but yeah, I enjoyed it overall by the end. And it's like, I think too, it's like some of the tropes were tropes I was more into near the end, like the whole plucking the little triangle thing was very Clan of the White Lotus. I felt like, the early part of the movie, I felt like it was just random silliness, which was fine. Some jokes hit, some don't. It felt more like it was becoming more effective genre parody as it kind of got deeper into the movie. It kind
of coalesces as it goes towards the end, and then it goes completely off the rails after that scene.
Yeah. Aliens and the
it's an horror baby. Yeah, it's honestly.
Another thing too, as someone that grew up in the 70s and 80s, it's like I never watched martial arts movies when I was young, but martial arts parodies were inescapable when I grew up. It's like I think that to an extent I never got into martial arts movies because I saw so many parodies. I just thought it was kind of a silly, stupid genre, and it's like, and so I just never took it seriously until Brendan actually got me into watching wuxia movies, and I'm like, oh man, some of these are really fantastic. But go ahead.
But I was gonna say you're right, because like even in Police Academy, they have like the whole I forget the name of the character, the one who makes all the funny noises, but he's constantly mocking the dubbing in kung fu movies and doing like kind of like a Bruce Lee impression, right? So
I mean, it was just such a common thing to poke fun of that it kind of brought back that vibe watching this. I'm like, man, this, because it's weird because it is kind of out of time. It's like this is so much later than that era. It makes it more random. But yeah, I
Tastes
mean,
like Taco Bell. Yeah.
yeah, it's by no means a great movie, but and I think once again, I probably would have liked it even more if I saw it when I was young. If I was young, yeah, this totally would be a movie that you'd quote the hell out of. But yeah, I would give it a soft recommendation on the point that you're just looking for something silly and you got friends to watch it with. It's yeah,
For
I was, and the other thing too, it is short. It's like an
yeah, so
hour and
one
20 minutes because
yeah.
it's stretching at an hour and 20 minutes because it is basically like a sketch level of comedy that's
It's
kind
really,
of,
yeah. Well, I mean,
kind of
especially at the end, it kind of just evolves into absolute madness.
Well,
The last
yeah.
like 10 minutes, you're just like, wait, what?
this
Yeah,
movie
and
is
then even
why
goes,
this movie is why I never saw The Savage Killers, because it made me it like inoculated me against that movie where I didn't want to watch it. Um, because it just seemed like, man, I'm only gonna be able to think about this. You know what I mean? Like now I'm kind of curious.
yeah.
Maybe I could endure it, but I've had a long resistance to it. One thing I wanted to say is I think I grew up in an era with like these movies were constantly being played on TV. Like I think we were seeing them every Saturday, and I remember being them on even more frequently than that.
Mhm.
And also, it was during the ninja craze and all that stuff, so we were seeing a lot of imported movies that were like there were American-made ninja movies, but we were also getting like Japanese movies, and we were getting lots of martial arts movies from like China and stuff. But I think that one thing I noticed this time is that it relies so heavily on parodying the dubbing that we grew up with, which was ubiquitous. Like we didn't get the subtitles yet generally when I was a kid. But now I feel like it's different because whenever I have discussions with people that are into wuxia or into kung fu movies, they always prefer the subs. And the subs are
Mhm.
kind of like if you go onto Amazon and watch them, not all the time. Sometimes you'll get dubs, but the subs are becoming more the standard. And so
Yep.
I wonder because I've often thought of doing sub parodies to movies because I used to edit on Viki. The like I didn't translate, but the translators would need editors, and I used to be able to go into the translating software and edit the little subs at the bottom. And I remember thinking like, oh, like all these like jokes would pop in your mind while you're doing that. Like, oh, what if they said this instead? Like you didn't do it, but it gave you that idea. I feel like if a movie like this came out now, they might go the sub direction rather than the dub direction. Just because I
Yeah,
don't know that people would know about it as much. It might not land the same.
I have to agree with you as someone that didn't watch martial arts movies till we entered the sub era. It did like that. I think that was why early in the movie it took me a little while to get into it because it's a lot heavier on kind of doing the funny dubbing thing early in the movie, and that just that dubs are funny, and it's like okay, this wasn't the form of martial arts movies I ever watched. So I don't think those jokes landed as well for me because it just hasn't been the form I've watched this genre in.
No, I can get that.
For me, it was like because it reminded me of old anime dubs. Like all the anime I like is like from the dub era. So that's why it landed really well for me. But also another fun thing about this movie is that so for all the English dialogue, it's just gibberish that they wrote, but they recorded the lines. See, when you get the DVD, you can actually switch off the dubbing, and it's just Mandarin in some scenes from some characters, right? Because it's just an original film, and then you'll have, you know, you'll see
Yeah.
Vodacok look at the camera and be like, "But isn't life a family game?" Like just completely random stuff, and it's really, really, really funny. And the other half of the quotes in the movie come from watching it that way and doing that like
So,
weird vampirically deep dive on it.
so is he like he's saying
Interesting.
completely different things in the scenes
Yes,
where they shot? Okay, that's interesting.
absolutely in
That's
no way
interesting.
related, but there's like weird running themes to that too. So there's like another different hidden script that you're watching
Okay,
while you're
that's
watching the
interesting.
movie. It's
That's
brilliant.
interesting. What
I,
what
Um,
I like that.
what
I
I like
like
about
that.
the dubbing is they're not just doing the delay because everybody knows like you want to fight me and the links the
yeah.
mouth doesn't link up, but they're also doing the thing where they're throwing in stuff just to like stretch the time because what they're saying doesn't fill in all the space that they're
Like
Yeah.
those little grunts. Yeah.
yeah, because like
Great.
there's a bunch of ones that when we're watching Shaw Brothers movies, they always use when they're dubbing. Do you know, like they'll say, but still, but still, but still. They throw that in like all the time, right? Like, and it feels like they use that because it's good at filling in space. I don't know if that's the reason, but there's a lot of little things
But
like that when you're watching these movies.
yeah,
Um,
some languages do have that thing where like you're kind of expected to have those little fillers, and they're a lot wordier in some languages. So there's a real gulf because English only has a few of them. So
I can relate to that from the standpoint of being a former newspaper editor, of when you've got an article and you've got to fit it into a space. It's like, okay, I need to add 10 words to this article, so I need to take 20 words out of this article.
Yep.
Yeah, I have to do that when I'm publishing. I've sometimes, it's one of the things I try to do the least, but sometimes it's like, we need to add a sentence just to make this not like have one line on the top of the page.
Yes.
So yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, so that, and also I think this movie also lives or dies on how well you respond to his weird noises that he makes when he's doing, because it's all Steve Odekirk, right? So
yeah,
and he's got a very idiosyncratic. It's sort of like if you ever had like a friend that makes commentary when you watch movies, or if you are the friend that does that, and they employ a voice. It's like, do you remember the Seinfeld episode where they had the woman's belly button speak? Do you remember that episode?
No. What the hell episode was that?
Could you explain it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like he's got this girlfriend, and when they're lying in bed, he thinks of her belly button as being a mouth or something, and he keeps like dubbing voices for it, and she's just increasingly getting annoyed at him doing this, and just poisons their relationship. It's great.
And it's something like hello, like it's like a very specific delivery, and I feel like it's similar here. You have that friend who comments on movies, and it's all in like whether the delivery makes you laugh or makes you so frustrated with them that you're not enjoying the film. Do you know what I mean?
Like, I've actually had both reactions whenever I just start talking during a movie. Some people cackle, and some people are like, "Would you shut up?" And they're both legitimate.
On the movie, yeah.
Well, it depends on the person. Like, some people hate that.
Oh yeah.
Like I was mocking the third Matrix movie at one point back in the distant depths of time. And someone was like, "I'm trying to watch this movie," and I'm like, "You're trying to watch the third Matrix movie?"
I have to admit, I get irritated when people interrupt a movie that even if it's a movie that's shit. Like I want to be able to absorb it, and the reason people get mad is because when you speak, they don't just miss the part where you're speaking. There's like a delay where it takes them like another 10 seconds to get their ear back onto what's being said. And so that constant interruption is very infuriating to some people, unless they're there for your jokes. Then it's a different.
I don't
go with an aside too. I despise the new Netflix Mystery Science Theater. The one time I tried to watch it, because I was a big Mystery Science Theater fan back in the 90s. And the new one, like the first one, like basically they were well-timed quips all the time in the 90s one. At least the one episode I watched, they never shut up once.
Yeah, it was just constant stream of noise.
And you don't get into the movie that they're making fun of, because they don't give you the space for them to, like, it was like in the original, it's like someone in the movie would say something and they'd respond with a line. This was just, we're talking over the entire movie. That was
look how clever I am.
They're trying to keep up with the reaction videos that people do. That's probably what.
You cannot TikTok Mystery Science Theater though; it doesn't work. It's a different era of content creation now. Because Mystery Science Theater was made in that era, and this movie kind of comes out of that era too, where you would sometimes be forced to watch something that was subpar because there was nothing else to do. A movie's on TV. Guess we're watching this now. You couldn't just change the channel and find something better. This is what's on Sci-Fi, and that's the best channel on television right now. So I guess we're watching This Island Earth together.
Yeah, that's actually a great point, going back to Brendan's point about people hating it or not liking it. And I'm saying it depends on the movie. I think what it depends on, if you sit down to watch a movie and someone just keeps cracking wise the whole time on a movie you chose to sit down and watch, it can be annoying. But if back in the day, like back in the 80s, when I was sitting on the couch with a friend after school just flipping through channels, it's like, yeah, we're not invested in anything that's on the TV. And it was always funny, because it's like this random thing you turned on halfway through, and that was fine. Yeah, I actually remember doing that with a movie once, where we flipped to this this movie. We weren't even aware what it was, because it's not like back then you could click a button and see what you were watching. And we were watching what's the movie Shivers by Cronenberg, which we didn't know what it was. And it's like we're like, oh, that's a silly horror movie. Let's make fun of it. And then it just gets more and more Cronenbergy, and it's like, this isn't funny anymore. What's happening?
The movie played a joke on us, so the joke was David Cronenberg. Yeah. It turns out the leeches are STDs, kids, and they make you sex zombies. I gotta change the channel on that. Sorry, David. The least Canadian of all Canadians.
Also, this time I noticed. This time I didn't notice it before, that the dyingling is played by a completely different actress, because I guess it was new footage, right? It was, or stripped from another movie.
Yeah, I know. I picked up on that. It was I was like, that's not the same.
And it's silly too, because she doesn't even die. So it's like,
that was that part. That part I found pretty funny. The rotating around between the dying.
Yeah, I remember that was one of the scenes I remembered, when he's like, "Oh, but surely the master is okay."
Surely Wimplo is alive. Well, did you just hear flies buzzing? He's like,
was it Wimplo? Was it Wimplo?
Yep, poor Wimplo. No, the master was fine. He got eaten by a bird during the credits. Just because you fade to black doesn't mean he's not still eating me. God.
Wimplo was a fun character. I did like Wimplo.
That was another part that did feel very, very wuxia. The resentful, other student was is this such a classic trope? So that was fun to see.
Well, and also just having him. The idea that he's trained so wrong that he thinks he's winning when he's getting punched in the face. It's just so stupid and silly that it just.
We trained him wrong as a joke.
Yeah. It just kind of plays off the Reign of Assassins thing too, where it's like, oh, I've trained you with a weakness, but just taking it to the extreme.
You have nothing but weaknesses. My nuts to your fist style. How do you like it?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this movie does. It's the kind of thing, even when the jokes didn't land, because not everything does land. But you just can't. I just can't hate this movie. It just comes from I just want to do something ridiculous and funny and make people laugh kind of place. That I have to respect the movie's commitment to being stupid.
Even adoring it, I think that 25% effective joke ratio is about right with it. I think about 1/4 of the jokes you're like, okay, that's worth a guffaw. The rest are just like, they're not necessarily groaners. They're just like, okay.
Exactly.
It's like a guy that's trying real hard to make you laugh, and very occasionally he really does do it, But even still, overall, I think that just the attitude of that guy is what you respond to,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're not groaners, because they're not cliche, like, corny jokes. It's like the ones that don't land, they're just like, well, that was weird, but it didn't make me laugh.
Some of them are definitely, like, angled at a sense of humor that I do not possess. Like, as much as I love the whole wee-o thing, the only time it made me laugh was whenever Link's father showed up and he did it too. And I was like, okay, come on, that's fun. That's actually
like a family
good.
trait, yeah.
I'm Link's father. Wee-o-wee. That one got me.
That is what I meant when I said, like, like if you have a friend and they use like a voice, do you know what I mean? Like it's that kind of thing where, if and I have to admit that the wee-o bit was a little bit grating. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a little hard.
It was like it was like anti-funny almost. You're just like, okay, what are we doing here? But it was worth it as a setup for that joke, I think. I sort of feel like it should have just vanished from the movie after that, because like it wasn't a joke anymore after that point. That point was a high point. It was. The punchline came midway through the movie. There's a lot of weird stuff like that.
Was he just doing that based on the way her mouth was moving, and it just sort of stuck as
I don't know. I could not tell you. There's some jokes that didn't land for me at the time. I was like, that's dumb. And then I've come to kind of fall in love with them. Like whenever I forget the dude's name. The little master is like, her shyness will pass, and then she has this like really shy look, and then just like flips her shirt off and then flashes them and puts it back on real quick. And then she does it later in the movie too. Like at first I was like, that's stupid, and then now I'm just like, that's the funniest shit ever. Every time I see it, I just cackle now. So I don't know. I think the comedic genius of this movie is that you'll laugh at different things at different points in your life.
It makes her into a really strange character, that character trait. The other scene, the scene that I found myself laughing at too, is when they were beating him with the staffs. I don't know why. It's so stupid.
That was a great scene. Yeah. That just, I mean, you could just clip that scene and it would be hilarious on its own.
My favorite part of that scene is that they're beating with the sticks, and he goes silent because he's unconscious, and they get like this moment where they're like, should we stop? Is he okay? And the one guy just comes in and just whacks him again. And they kind of just go back into it. Amazing.
And then I don't know if it's a vision or reality, but then like the one-breasted woman, Woe, right? Woe shows up, but it's spelled in the credits WHOA. So it's, but
I didn't pick up on that.
It was like the opposite of the Total Recall lady.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's the karmic balance.
I feel like they were using the same special effects technology or something. Like like whoever did that must have been operating off the same principles that were used for that.
What if they had the same boob?
Yeah, exactly. They bought leftover props from Total Recall.
I was just watching Ernest Scared Stupid with my kids yesterday, and it dawned on me that the trolls in that are the killer clowns from outer space, just repainted as trolls. So
wow.
They do that. That's a thing that happens. Yeah, someone in Missouri, I guess, got their greasy mitts on those big rubber costumes, and they made another Ernest movie with them. By the way, there's like 4 people listed in those credits, so I guess they were making those movies on a shoestring budget.
I throw a random piece of trivia out there too, because 1941 was, Spielberg's movie 1941 was a flop. The reason they made Raiders of the Lost Ark was so they could use all those World War II props again in the next movie, because he got such a low budget on his next movie. It's like, I got to reuse all these props.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Became one of the most iconic films ever. Yeah.
I only made it as far as Ernest Goes to Camp, which I think was like the first movie.
I got a third through that movie and then passed out, and I've never seen Ernest again. Well, there's only really 2 Ernest movies, and they're both the holiday ones. There's the Christmas one, which is really good, and then there's the Halloween one, which is like the magnum opus. So everyone I grew up with them. I'm a Midwest kid, so like those I've seen all of them. But like Ernest Rides Again is like the last one before they kind of just fell off the trailer entirely, because there's like slam dunk Ernest after that, but it's trash.
I just remember he was like a character on a beer commercial, right?
Yep.
Wasn't that
it was a milk commercial, wasn't it originally? I think it was a milk. I never saw it. I
remember it was him talking to some guy named Vern, right? Wasn't that?
Yeah, he's talking to
Vern. Hey, Vern. Yep.
They don't do the Vern bit in Ernest Gets You, but they do it in Ernest Saves Christmas. But yeah, so I want to say there's really 4 good Ernest movies. There's Ernest Goes to Jail, Ernest Goes to Camp, and then there's the 2 holiday movies. The holiday movies are the best ones. If you must see Ernest Scared Stupid will give you everything you need, because it's like a Goosebumps episode turned into a 90-minute Ernest movie. It's fun. It is. It's legitimately fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously. And Jim Varney is a comedic genius. He's a good
performer. He's a
fantastic performer. He's like a redneck Jim Carrey. He's brilliant.
Yeah. I was at the wrong age, because I was just old enough that I needed to be cool enough to not like, the Jim Varney when he was at his height. So I kind of missed out on that trend.
No, that's fine. I was a kid, so I was the right demographic. I was in the Midwest, so I kind of had both the overlaps,
Yeah, I was in the Midwest at that time, but just wrong age.
Another joke in this that I really like, I don't know why, is he said my friend told me that there would be a chosen one. And I remember the day that he told me, and then they flash back, and he's like, there will be a chosen one.
There will be a chosen one. And then it goes back to the present. And it's another, and then he told me of the significance, and then it flashes back in this big elaborate intro, and then it's just, it will be significant.
Yeah, that was solid. Yeah, I totally get your affection for this movie. I mean, it feels too. It feels like he is someone who's watched a lot of these movies too. I mean, I find with parodies, it's like, the best parodies come from people who've really kind of, immersed themselves a bit in a genre.
He looks like he's living his dream, and also he looks
exactly
really fit in this. Steve Odekirk looks like, I don't know if he did it for the movie or if he's like a martial arts practitioner, but he looked very fit, even though it's all jokes. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, but I don't know. I've seen a lot. There have been like a lot of movies like this. Honestly, this is probably the best one in terms of like the. I'm trying to think of the other kung fu spoofs because there are some really bad ones. There was also one I think called Hong Kong Fooey. Was it called or?
I remember
Kung
Hong Kong
Fu? No,
Yeah, Kung Fu was what it was.
Kung Fooey. That one was really dopey. Balls of Fire was. I remember being really bad. I don't know if this qualifies, but there's one with oh God, what's his name? I don't know why his name is escaping me. The guy that's always in the Adam Sandler movies. You Can Do It. You know that guy.
You Can Do It.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God, what is his name? Rob Schneider.
Rob Schneider. The one where he has to go to jail and he gets trained in kung fu so that he doesn't. The plot is really stupid. He some minor thing he gets sent to jail over, and he has time before he knows he's got to go to jail, and so he gets a master to teach him kung fu so that he doesn't get raped while he's in prison. That's the plot of the movie.
I don't remember this film.
It's a Rob Schneider movie. You know, it's like
Rob Schneider back in the day.
I actually kind of like Rob Schneider movies, but
he got a little pigeonholed into the Rob Schneider turns into a thing movie. I think South Park parodied that, where it's like Rob Schneider is a stapler. Yeah. Rob Schneider is a carrot.
But there was only one movie where that happened, right? Like what was he doing?
4 movies where he turned into something.
No, so in one of those he's a gigolo, right? There's 2 Deuce Bigalow movies, right?
There's 2 Deuce Bigelows. He turns into a woman in one of them.
Yep, I remember that one.
What was the other ones? I can't remember the other ones. They were so...
Okay, I'm going to look this up while you guys talk. Because
you got to look that one up.
I've always felt like what South Park did was funny. It made me laugh, but I've always felt like I don't think that's accurate. You know what I mean? Like...
I've never seen a Rob Schneider movie. If you want me to hold up my end while you're looking stuff up, I have nothing to say. So you picked
talk about other things
that Adam Sandler would turn up as the Rob Schneider.
Wait, Adam, are you telling me you've never seen Deuce Bigalow?
No, never.
Okay,
never.
You should at least watch Deuce Bigalow. That'll give you the window into the entire Rob Schneider canon.
Yeah, that's a good entry into the Rob Schneiderverse. I agree.
And also, that one has Norm Macdonald in it, so there's at least. It's a very weird role, but and I won't spoil it for you.
Was there ever a Norm Macdonald role where you're like, this role is completely not weird at all? This is a discordant and slightly off-putting.
That's like one of the strangest bits, the Norm Macdonald scene in Deuce Bigalow.
I don't remember that one. The only one that can summon to mind is the movie Dirty Work, which is like the only movie I think he ever really headlined, Norm Macdonald. Yeah. I don't remember any of the other stuff he did. He was in God, what else was he in? I know he's in other stuff. I don't know. Norm Macdonald's one of those weird comedic actors where I'm not even sure exactly where I remember him from. Saturday Night Live.
He transcends a role. He just is. It's just him.
Because he was on
stand up. He made a lot of appearances on late night and stuff that were memorable.
His hosting of SNL, I think, is one of the things that he got fired for making fun of OJ too much. Is probably his defining role. But
well, he was wasn't that also the period where SNL, if I remember, was like really having trouble with ratings too? It was like that mid-90s period.
Oh, it's Big Stan is what it's called. Big Stan is the name of that one, where where Rob Schneider is going into the prison. Okay, so the animal, he turns into an animal.
I've never even heard of Big Stan.
Neither had I, but here it is.
In my life.
It was called Big Stan?
Big Stan. So Hot Chick was the one where Rob Schneider turns into a
okay, so there's at least 2. The animal,
he turns into an animal.
What? How does that? Like, what did he turn? He turned into an animal. Like
no. Okay, so a mad scientist puts a lot of animal parts in him to rebuild him from like a near-death experience, and he has all these weird animal traits he can do. He like leap really far and all. It's actually pretty funny, as I recall. And they made his ass super hairy because it was like a monkey's ass. And they keep calling back to it in like actually kind of a clever way. I remember it well. I have a positive overall view of Rob Schneider. And I liked his movies. So The Animal and Hot Chicks are two of them. There needs to be one more for that South Park joke to really land. But I don't know if it did. I think that
again,
they
like
were
even
making...
Hot Chicks was the Hot Chick was kind of a funny movie. I remember watching that with my wife.
Right.
You know, I mean, he's just like a goofy. The thing with Rob Schneider is he's like it's kind of similar to this. It's like about the It's like whether you like the goofy over the top. Like he can only be him. Do you know what I mean? Like if you didn't like the whole skit that he used to be on SNL, where he would in The Office, where he taught people using
making
the
copies.
Yeah. If that didn't work for you, then you're probably not going to like Rob Schneider movies. That's probably the best metric that I can think of.
I mean, they did that sketch too many times, but it was a funny sketch initially.
Yeah, it was funnier but less memorable than It's Pat. I never really got what was funny about It's Pat. I mean, I understand the premise, like I'm not dumb, but it never made me laugh. I'm like, oh no, people are confused about the gender
that might have been
I don't know how that became
a generational
I mean,
thing,
the fact there's an It's Pat movie, which I've never seen, but I'm like,
I have seen it.
That's really got to be a stretch to get it to work.
They made Pat pretty unlikable in that one. They make okay, so there's a lot to unpack about It's Pat to the point where I wouldn't really mind watching it and reviewing it at some point, but I don't know if I want to subject you guys to it, because it really isn't entertaining at all. It's just kind of miserable.
I remember Pat. I remember people explaining the sketch to me before I saw it, and I remember everybody did seem to think it was funny. That was the thing that I remember. I remember laughing at it. I think what it was is it wasn't just that it was like, is she a man, is she a woman? It was also that they never she's always on the cusp of answering, and she's like, isn't it obvious? And then she gets cut off, and so it's just this running joke of nobody's ever able to resolve the tension of whether she's a man or a woman.
I mean, I think in your early sketches, the joke was the way the way they would always come up with an answer that didn't answer the question. I think that was where the punchlines were. It was like just the way. Because I mean, yeah, it was just the kind of the escape artistry of not answering the question was where the humor was. But yeah, I don't, there wasn't a lot of meat on those sketches to keep going forever.
Well, it's sort of like the way those sketches tended to work. It's like, remember the caveman lawyer sketches?
Yeah,
that's like one joke, right? It's like they stretched it, and it was all.
That is also Phil Hartman, though. I mean,
but that's
Phil
what I'm
Hartman,
saying.
Just by having Phil Hartman do a sketch
makes
it 100% funny all by itself.
Well, that's my point. It's about the performance of the actor.
Yeah,
it's not even about the joke.
Right there.
Pat is kind of similar too, where it's the way she's kind of going like that, like the expressions she's making, the discomfort on her face, the personality, like that's also part of the joke, So that's I think it's one of these things where it's a kind of like I don't really know what it is about this that's making me laugh, but it's something between the performance concept. Yeah. You can't. Again, you can't. I don't know. I think with humor, also humor is weird. Like stuff that like I would have found funny in like 1989 just wouldn't make me laugh today because you know what I mean. It's just
that's one of the reasons I introduced this movie as I did, because in a lot of ways this is a time and place movie, right? Like if you didn't live through the early 2000s, you might not get what's going on here,
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm just one generation too late for It's Pat to land for me, I don't get it. I will say there is one good joke in that movie. Dave Foley of Kids in the Hall is dressed in drag as the romantic interest, and nobody can tell. Both their groups of friends are meeting during their wedding, and they're both like, we thought that whenever they chose someone, they would give us a clue, but just seems to have obscured things more. And that's a funny joke. That's actually, they just continued it and just made another It's Pat style character.
Picking someone from Kids in the Hall for that role was a perfect choice, I have to say.
Well, he carried that over into news radio too. They had him do drag in news radio.
Dude, the Kids in the Hall did drag in every sketch. That's
like
when
a
I was
Canadian
a kid watching
thing,
that,
I think, isn't it? Isn't it like a Canadian and British thing? Like they just find it funny to have male actors dressed.
But my mom thought very poorly of it when I was a kid. I was a teenager watching Kids in the Hall and cackling like a baboon, and my mom was like, I don't like how they're always dressing up like women. And I didn't even notice at the time. I was like, well, I mean, that one's really, really gay too, Mom. He has whole monologues.
Yeah, that is a very gay show, no question.
That's great, though.
That wasn't an insult. It's just a fact. I love Kids in the Hall.
Kids in the Hall is genius, and like they did another season recently for Amazon, and it's
I saw that.
brilliant.
I only saw half of it. I still have to watch the other half.
Oh,
I love that.
It's so good.
That.
They're still in top form. I love it.
The bunker sketch, man. Oh, so good.
My favorite part is the intro where like the guy sells the last DVD copy of Brain Candy, and it's just enough to pay off the horrible debt of making the movie Brain Candy.
Yeah. I had a girlfriend, that was her absolute all-time favorite movie, so I've seen Brain Candy.
Brain Candy had its moments.
It's a great movie.
But that also broke them, didn't it? Because it created a lot of division in the. But I mean, it didn't just bomb. It also there was division among them over the creative direction of that movie. That I think it was kind of like System of a Down's last album. Like it just ruined the band. You know what I mean?
Oh no, did it? I didn't know that about System of a Down.
Yeah,
I thought they just went their separate ways because they were all anarchic shitheads. I didn't realize that they were anarchic shitheads to one another. Damn.
Well. So the whole thing was, and it's way off topic, but the whole thing with the last album of System of a Down is the guitar player began getting more writing credits because he was also singing more and doing more of the lyrics, and so it kind of pushed Serge to the outer edge of the band, and Serge also wasn't as interested in doing the album. They had some creative disagreements and things like that. So, but they haven't done after that album. They broke up like the next year or something. Not broke up, but they went on a hiatus.
I miss System of a Down. Like, I know they're not... okay. So, I really like System of a Down. That might be a divisive opinion. I grew up with them.
I like them.
What I love about them is they have an extremely unique sound. You know, they were bold in their choice of, like, what kind of sounds they would mix together, what kind of music they would make. And they had some unbelievable talent because, like, their guitarists are amazing. Their vocalist is amazing. Like, really, really talented, skilled people. So, like, you might not love, like, aerials or whatever, but, like, you have to appreciate just how much talent and how bold it is. Like, there is something to it, even if you don't particularly like it, I think.
I like them for the same reason I like King Diamond, which is they do this sort of sweetness and bitterness that's contrasted. Yeah. They have, like, the heavy stuff, and then the melodic stuff kind of follows it in the same song. Also, the guitar player, I mean, he's not like a shredder, but he's a really good rhythm guitarist and a really good writer on the guitar. He can write really memorable riffs and really memorable chord progressions, and he can play really interesting and he's one of the best rhythm guitarists, in my opinion, because of the diversity of rhythmic choices he makes, if that makes sense.
That and the skill with which he pulls them off. Like, yeah, it's hard as hell to play System of a Down songs. Like, this isn't even trying to hit the vocals, which, again, they have an ingenious vocalist. Like, he can do stuff that, like... And also, I liked that in the last album they did, he did a bunch of tongue twisters just because he could. Even just trying to follow along with the same speed of lyrics, even if you're not trying to hit the notes, is nearly impossible. It's great.
And he's very charismatic as a frontman, too.
God, yeah, he's really hot. I mean, charismatic.
Well, I need to go here soon, just so.
Okay, yeah, and we've gone way
past talking about the movie.
It's almost this movie is almost a do you like it or not movie. Like, I really don't feel like there's a ton to talk about with it. It's just a bunch of gags. But this has been you know, the three old men talking about stuff they used to like hour. I hope you all enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's Kung Pow 2002. It's a very goofy movie, so you know it's not for everybody. But I was surprised that I still like this movie. I thought I was gonna watch it and be like, oh man, what did I get myself into? So it was enjoyable. Also, it was a nice reset because we've been watching a lot of stuff like A Touch of Zen and all these things, and I don't know, a movie like this really like
it's a palate cleanser.
Yeah, it's a palate cleanser. It's a very strong palate cleanser for sure. And it's easy to watch. It's not a hard movie to sit.
No.
Sorry, we'll end it there.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. End it. I'm good.
No, I was just gonna say we'll end it there because Adam has to get somewhere. And until next time, we will talk to you later.